Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining the Maryland, D.C. Composting Council Chapter's first virtual town hall. Welcome, one and all. We had 80 folks registered for today's events. We're so pleased that you're here today. Um, you can go to the next slide, Ivy. So, I'm just going to quickly, my name is Brenda Platt, and I'm with the Institute for Local Self-Reliance in Washington, D.C. We also do a lot of work in Maryland. I'm actually live in Maryland in Montgomery County, and I am not only the head of the Composting for Community initiative at the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, but I'm on the board of the new local chapter here, and I will be your facilitator moderator today. So pleased and privileged to be in this role. A few things. I'm gonna go through today's agenda. I'll mention the goals. We're gonna do a few quick polls to see who's in the virtual room today. After the polls, I will hand the mic to Christy Blummer with Compost Crew, who is the president of our new chapter. Then we're gonna send everyone into very brief breakout rooms to discuss one question. I'm gonna uh, share the question now so you can start thinking about it to make the most of the time that we have in the breakout rooms. And that question will be, name one thing that matters to you now regarding composting. So you can start thinking about that. The two polls that we'll do is one is going to be, and don't start them yet, Jordan. One is going to be what sector do you represent? And the second one is going to be how you are involved in composting. Again, so we can see who's in the room. People continue to join right now. I just want to do a shout out to a few of my colleagues. Jordan Ashby is our communications lead for our composting work, and she is doing all things tech today and will be handling the breakout rooms and the polling. Ivy with Compost Crew is sharing the slides. Thank you, Ivy. Want to do a shout out. Maybe Krista, you can do this too. We have a communications and outreach committee of the chapter, and they're the ones who've done a lot of the work setting up this town hall and reaching out to all of you. And my team here at the Institute for Local Self-Reliance is hosting the Zoom meeting. So just a few netiquette things to touch on. Please be muted when you're not speaking. We invite you to have your camera on if you're willing and able. This is a networking event, and we invite you each to be ready to engage with your colleagues in the Maryland, D.C. composting community. With that in mind, the chat is open today, and I invite you each to let's start using the chat. So I invite you each to share your name, organizational affiliation if you have one, and where you are located in DC and Maryland. Ask questions in the chat. We want to get to know one another. We want to hear from you. Again, this event is being recorded and it will be posted on our website. So with that, let us start with the first poll to see who's in the room. Okay, so what best describes the organization or sector you represent? You can only choose one. Government, local, state, federal, private business enterprise, a nonprofit or advocacy, public-private entity, a farmer, if you're an other individual, like a student, or other altogether, you don't see yourselves represented here. And okay, so looks like we have more 14% are government, almost a third private business enterprise, 41% nonprofit advocacy, 7% public-private entities, no farmers yet, 7% other individuals, 3% other. So we can close that poll. That's a nice spread. And then the next poll is really how are you involved in composting? So again, you can only get to choose one, but before you select, let me just say what best describes your involvement. If you collect food scraps or organics and you are a composter, select that third option, collector and composter. If you're just a collector, just select that. If you're only a composter, maybe you're just a compost user, Maybe you're here because you're representing a compostable products manufacturer, you're an advocate, education outreach, or other. All right, Jordan, where are we? Okay, so almost a third are collectors and composters, but just over 10% are only composters. Not many who are just haulers. We have a few compostable product manufacturers, one third advocates, little over 10% education outreach. If you selected other, if you're in that 11% other category, please in the chat let us know what sector you represent. And so we have quite a wide range of folks here. Welcome again, everybody. The goal of this, and we could go to the town hall goals on the next slide. Thanks, Ivy. So we're here to get to know each other. This is a meeting to to share our stories, to discuss industry challenges, explore opportunities for growth, and in particular to see what our new chapter can help in addressing those challenges and obstacles and where we need to be focusing our time. So we really want to hear from everybody today. So with that, let me hand it over to Christy Blummer, our president of our new chapter, to say a few remarks. Christy, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Brenda. Just to confirm, you can hear me all right?
We
Awesome.
can.
Well, thanks, everybody. Great. My name is Christy Blummer, and I am the president of the Maryland and Washington, D.C. State Chapter, or MDDC. And a little bit about us. So this organization started in actually 2017. So big history. It started as a steering committee with a group of really passionate composting advocates that were able to band together and support the passing of 12 different local and state bills that has helped set the stage and proliferate composting in our region, which is truly amazing. And just last year, we decided to be a state chapter, which is official with the United States Composting Council. And so we're hoping to continue the legacy that has been put forward with the amazing individuals that have started this chapter and to help bring more community engagement, which is why we're here today. And so with that, if you have been part of the steering committee, or if you've helped with the state chapter in any way, I'd love to see a reaction. So now I'm going to have you engage with the Zoom. So on the bottom, there's a little reaction button where you can react to show that you've been involved in some way. So I'd love to see who's been involved with the space. So thank you all for all the hard work. I'd also like to do a special shout out to the individuals that have been part of the steering committee since 2017, which is truly amazing. So one of them is Brenda Platt, the individual leading here today, who's really led the charge of what we can do in our region. And a lot of the bills that we have today are because of her. So amazing shout out to Brenda today. Also, shout out to other individuals that have been here since 2017, Ben Fischler, Luisa Robles, Jeffrey Neal, Brian Flores, who is the original founder of Compost Crew, the company I work with, Linda BB, David Hitchcock, and many more. So thank you all for all the hard work of how we're here today in our first ever virtual town hall. And so how can you get involved in the future is the next steps. So Ivy, would you mind coming to the next slide? So here's our board currently. So all board members, please put in a little reaction to do a shout out for you here today. So thank you for being part of this board. And 2 advocacy committees too. So if you've been part of the advocacy committee, which was our former steering committee, has helped pass a lot of amazing legislation. And our outreach committee, who's brand new and needs a lot of support trying to create this first ever virtual town hall and hopefully a lot other community engagement events. So if you would like to be involved in the board or in any of these committees, we'd love to have you. So please share your information with us with our membership form and engage in our website. If you just want to get information, we do have a email chain as well. And so setting the stage to composting in our region now. So we have a lot of different composting and compost production options in the area, as you can see here, where we can accept and divert multiple different types of organic feedstocks and create a lot of different types of compost production and different types of products. And that ranges from all different scales, from backyard composting to local community gardens and 3-bin systems, to on-farm composting, to large municipal programs. All of them are really important to support our ecosystem so we can build community resilience throughout our region. And so we're excited to hear from a lot of the individuals that have helped contribute to composting in the region here today with our speaker list. So with that, I'd love to pass it back to Brenda to introduce our speakers.
Yeah, thanks, Christy. Before we get to our speakers, and we are going to do, I know you might have said, oh, 1 hour meeting, 10 speakers. What the hell is going on? Well, these are speed talks. So each speaker has been invited just for 1 to 2 minutes, just to get a flavor and a cross section of what's going on in DC and Maryland. Before we do that, we're going to break into very small breakout groups of 3 to 4 people. And this is a networking event. So I'm going to give you the question now. Don't create the breakout groups yet, but the question is going to be, name one thing that matters to you now regarding composting. So one thing, literally you're going to have 1 minute each. So think about that. And we don't want anybody in the breakout going on for 5 minutes and not giving the opportunity. So you're going to be self-moderating the breakout 1 minute. Then after somebody speaks, hand the mic to somebody else. We'll let you know when there's 1 minute up. You will have about 6 minutes. So name one thing that matters to you. You can introduce yourselves. But before we do that, I would invite in the chat for you to add one word to describe the status of composting in Maryland and or DC. So do that in the chat now. One word to describe the status of composting in Maryland. Evolving, Michelle. Marissa, growing. Proliferating. Potential. Building, nascent. Beginning, pilots. Growing. Ramping. I'm sensing a theme here. Resilient. Okay, Margaret. Awesome. Okay, so strong community. Thanks, Regina. If that is Regina, a lot of people have been using Regina's link. By the way, if you see that your name does not match your actual name, click on the 3 dots and you can rename so we know who you are. Progress. Okay, those are all positive things. Love it. All right, Jordan, send us into the breakout rooms. So, right, welcome back, everybody. And for those who missed the introduction, welcome to our first Maryland, DC Composting Council chapter virtual town hall. We have 53 participants today, and 80 people had registered, which is phenomenal. I'm Brenda Platt with the Institute for Local Self-Reliance and a board member of the new chapter, and I'm your moderator today. So just before we get into our speed talks and I introduce our speakers, would love for Alana, if you could mute, that would be great. We'd love to hear from just 2 to 3 groups. So I'm going to start, if you could put your hand up if you're willing to share out. Margaret, I'm going to start with you. So just 30 seconds.
Okay,
What
well,
did you?
the two things that we're concerned about is education to extend our reach and to ensure food grade compost so that there's no contamination for the production of healthy food.
Excellent. All right, I'm not seeing any hands up, so please, 2 more people willing to share out what came out of your group. All right, Erica, thank you.
Hi. So in our group, we talked about just wanting to, in the first place, reach the potential of increasing food waste diversion, getting food out of landfills and incinerators. And on the other hand, trying to increase demand, so decrease contamination in the compost and then increase the demand of like high quality compost amongst like the end users. So rather than having like a lot of compost and nowhere to put it, like really encouraging increasing the demand for like local farms, things like so that the compost can actually be helping with their local soil health.
Great. Thank you, Erica. I see a theme there with high quality. Okay, we're going to go to Ben and Amanda, and that's all we have time for. So 30 seconds, Ben.
Yeah, two things our group talked about. One was monitoring the EPR legislation, both in Maryland and elsewhere, and see how that's going to impact the industry. And then second, specific to our region, is how the economy will might potentially impact all the progress that we've made with tightening household budgets, tightening budgets for businesses in a possible recession, and tightening municipal budgets. Is that going to move us backwards at all?
Thank you for that. Amanda?
Yes, our group talked about composting and making composting accessible to all communities. Along with that, messaging and comms around composting and the importance of post-consumer food waste and getting more entities involved and required to compost, closing loopholes. And we also talked about the connection between composting, soil health, and microbes.
Awesome. So I'm seeing some themes there, but Ben, that was a really interesting point on the economy and tightening budgets, messaging, communications, contamination, high quality compost, outreach, and the circular economy, and then increasing demand and use of compost. So, and increasing diversion and accessibility to many different sectors to join. All right, thanks for that. So now we're going to get into our speed talks, and we're going to start with the first 6 here. Well, there's going to be 10 altogether, but we're going to Advika Argawal with Compostology, co-founder, Margaret Morgan Hub, EcoCity Farms, Josh Chamberlain with Go Green Ocean City Compost, Dan Israel with Compost Crew, Justin Garrity at Veteran Compost. Ivy, if you go to the next slide, I'm just going to introduce them all so you can see their pictures. We're going to have Jason Brown with Maryland Environmental Service, Gina Vanderwall with Howard County Department of Public Works. She's the communications manager. Rachel Manning with the DC Department of Public Works, program analyst. Susan Shore representing an advocacy group, Sierra Club, the DC Zero Waste in DC, and Emily Ranson with Clean Water Action in Maryland. Thank you all for agreeing to give us 1 to 2 minute speed talks. I'm sure we could give you each 20 minutes, but without further ado, let's move to Advika. Welcome, and then we're going to quickly hand the mics. And I, as your moderator, my job is to cut you off if you go on too long, so my apologies in advance. But the mic is yours, Advika.
Hi everyone, thank you so much, Miss Platt. I'm so excited to be here. But yeah, I'm a sophomore at Johns Hopkins University and the co-founder of Compostology, which is a 501c3 nonprofit based in Maryland that diverts food waste from schools to instead be recovered, composted, and used to spark education. So our first prong is launching school programs where students will throw away their inedible food scraps into our green bins during lunch, and the waste is then hauled by Compost Crew, who's here today, and Key City Compost to compost facilities, resulting in between 300 to 1,500 pounds of food scraps being composted monthly from each school. The students will also place their edible food items onto our share tables and mini fridges so that their peers can claim those items at any time, and every school is recovering between 50 to 80 items every day, 100% of which is reclaimed by students at the same school. Moving on to the second prong, each of these programs emphasizes environmental and civic education. So we like to take the data and the student and community energy from our programs beyond school walls to introduce and advocate for county and state policies. For example, in 2022, we worked with Delegate Charkoudian, who I see your office is also here today, to propose a $1.25 million grant program called the Maryland Grant Program to Reduce and Compost School Waste. We then led a student advocacy campaign over 2 years at around 100 different schools where we had students write to their legislators, learn about what is compost, food waste, and how does that all intersect to make our community better. And having students go up to the state capitol and talk to their legislators and the Maryland Environmental Secretary to really pitch for this program, which was finally passed and enacted. And it ran for a year. We're now, continuing advocacy to have the remaining 4 years funded. Within Montgomery County, we've also had some local county changes come out of our programs. For example, food recovery is now mandated at all of our 211 public schools, and we are working closely with our school system to get that up and running. About 75% of the schools or more already have the program. I think I'm at my 2 minutes, but I'd love to talk more with anyone who's interested. You can follow us on Insta or send us an email. We do a lot of work now with global chapters and chapters around the DMV and the country, guiding them to do exactly what we're doing. So yeah, definitely feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Awesome, Advika. All right, Margaret Morgan Hubbard from Eco City Farms, you're up. Margaret, we can't hear you.
I'm so sorry. Eco City Farms is a hybrid not-for-profit farm in 3 different locations in Prince George's County. Our goal is to produce healthy food for our community in ways that restore and protect the natural environment and enhance biodiversity. We think very carefully about how all our practices can produce near zero waste and prevent environmental harm. We're a teaching and learning farm established in 2010. And we are a commercial food operation as well, selling our produce and healthy food in healthy food deficient communities year-round via a CSA and a farm stand. Generating and maintaining healthy soils is foundational to our mission and practice of growing great food, farms, and farmers. We have recently upgraded all of our compost operations so that we can ensure adequate quality and supply of compost for our farms. We have 2 compost outposts. This is one of them. This is our first one. And a second is at our incubator farm where we train new farmers to start farms. For us, high quality food grade compost is essential. And as a result, we use no paper, no plastics, and no compostables. The goals of our operation are to strengthen the port towns and the county's capacity to manage and process local food waste cleanly and efficiently, to expand the growth of a decentralized, right-sized, distributive composting system around the Capital Beltway, to service the composting needs of urban farmers and gardeners, to generate food production quality compost on farms and gardens where it is needed, to increase compost for the new agricultural producers at the Watkins Incubator Farm and community farms, to reduce reliance and curtail the use of any non-organic fertilizers, to educate the community and county about reduction of food waste, food scrap and yard recycling, and climate smart municipal strategies, to make climate change at the community level a desirable and credible goal, especially for underserved and vulnerable communities of color, to support the growth and development of Compost Crew, a community serving entrepreneurial food scrap waste management business in the metro area, to increase rainwater absorption on farms through judicious use of compost.
Thank you, Margaret.
Okay.
Eco City is amazing, and I love the connections to composting. You guys demonstrate all those benefits so well. All right, next up is Josh Chamberlain, Go Green Compost in Ocean City.
Hi, everybody, and hello. I'm starting my little clock. To everybody in the room, nice to see you. Garvey Heiderman is with us in the room as well, our partner at Ocean Compost. Here in Ocean City, Maryland, we started Go Green OC 7 years ago with one restaurant. Garvey Heiderman did a pilot program with us for 2 weeks. Our goal was to move waste away from the polluting incinerator in Chester, Pennsylvania, which Ocean City uses, and start a more robust citywide compost program. That was 7 years ago. This March, we hit 1 million pounds total since the life of our program, and we've already hit over 200,000 pounds this year. We've won many grants, really proud of that, and our volunteers, over 20 volunteers work our farm Mondays and Fridays from 9:30 a.m. till 12 p.m. Like clockwork, and they have won an award last year for their spirit and volunteerism. So volunteers are everything. We find that volunteers stick with us only because they see the progress that we make. So we went from one restaurant 7 years ago to 23 participating businesses in Ocean City. We do about 12 to 15,000 pounds a week, and we're a seasonal town. So we actually start the program in April and we stop it in October because all of our restaurants basically close down. Very logistically challenging on the island. It's small, no space. Travelers from outside don't speak English. We have to train people using our videos. We use subtitles and all kinds of techniques to inform and educate the public. People love our compost. We give it away to our community members and small farmers. The town pays our for-profit partner per ton of food waste that we remove, matching what they pay the incinerator. So there's no loss to the town. It's a win-win for both of us. We also do the festivals here in Ocean City, diverting nearly 6,000 pounds of food waste. And that's it. So I know my time's up, but showing people the progress at what you make is key essential to getting volunteers, and that's how we do it.
Thank you, Josh. All right, Justin Garrity, Veterans Compost, the founder, you're up. Oh,
I think it's
excuse me,
actually Compost
I
Crew.
know. I'm just
So not
testing
my slide.
everybody.
Looks
Yes,
cool, but not
Dan
mine.
Israel, you're next, Justin. All right,
Awesome.
we'll go
All right,
And I'll
Dan and
hand
then
it over to
Justin.
Justin. So I'm Dan Israel. I run residential and municipal programs at Compost Crew. Compost Crew has been in the business now for 14 years. We're serving 22,000 plus customers in the area. We collaborate with a lot of municipalities in the area to provide composting options to residents. One of our customers, the District of Columbia, is going to speak later, so I'm not going to talk about that. We also work with College Park, with Fairfax County, with City of Alexandria, and many others to provide a range of different composting options. But today, I wanted to highlight the work that we're doing with the City of Greenbelt, who's been a great partner of ours now for about 2 years. And Louisa, who is in charge of sustainability for Greenbelt, is on the call today. This program was funded by a USDA grant starting in 2023. And the idea was to build a tight local loop to provide composting options to residents and to produce the compost very close to where the food scraps are collected, and then use the finished compost in the same area. So all of this happens in Greenbelt. We have a number of important partners. So it's Compost Crew, it's the City of Greenbelt. Trinity Assembly of God is the church there that has provided the land, the space that we need to do the composting. And then the Greenbelt Community Garden Club actually uses the compost that is produced there. And so all of this is happening in a very, very local way. This has been in operation since February of 2024. It took a little time to get everything built up and running, but the program has been a great success, and we are collaborating.
Has Dan frozen for other people or just me?
Yeah.
All right, Dan, you
can't
were
hear
pretty
him
good
either.
though. All right, so we got most of that, Dan. Now, Justin, you're up.
All right, now I'm really up. Okay, great. So hey, I'm Justin with Veteran Compost. We hit 15 years this summer of collecting and composting food scraps, everything from 7-gallon bins on people's doorsteps to tractor trailers from food manufacturers and everything in between. So that being said, always looking to grow and continue to seek out new opportunities for folks out there that have things they want to compost. We're actively hiring. So if you know anyone that needs a job in the composting field, we're out there hiring and have a bunch of openings. One thing that's become an interest of mine is kind of my dislike for single-use conventional plastics and containers. I think I always think about what 50 years from now will we say, what were those folks thinking? I think a lot about that with single-use packaging. And so have become a board member with BPI, trying to be active with EPR and certified compostable products, testing with our facilities, handling them for our customers. If it's something that anyone wants to know more about or get involved with, please let me know. I think that's the next frontier for improving the environment. And we're excited for EPR coming to Maryland, seeing what that might be, and trying to make sure that composters have a seat at the table and are compensated for what they do, being an important part of the system. And then finally, as part of that, I think as we go into the next legislative session, if anybody's interested, looking at the labeling laws, Maryland was early to the party, had a pretty good law for the time. Looking at what other states have done the last couple of years, probably a good opportunity for us to maybe freshen up the law, bring some new things in to help get rid of greenwashing. I hate greenwashing because it's bad for consumers. They're trying to do the right thing and not getting what they thought they're buying. And it's bad for composters and recyclers because we're getting not good stuff. So if anybody's interested in any of those things, let me know and I'll sign off.
Thanks, Justin. All right. Couldn't agree more on those things. Jason, with Maryland Environmental Service Division Chief, you are up.
Yes, thank you, Brenda. So Maryland Environmental Service, we are a state agency that provide several services throughout the state of Maryland. We operate landfills, MRFs, compost facilities, steam plants. We are a resource and an ally to public entities and municipalities all over the state. Currently, like I said, we operate a few yard waste and a food waste facility, PG County, Montgomery County, Hartford County. Big focus right now, hot topic is how to incorporate more food waste into our facilities. So working on that. PG County currently does that, also has depackaging capabilities, one of the first in the state. So looking to expand more into that in order to reduce our landfill footprint and our need for landfills, especially. With that though, it's an expensive task to incorporate food waste and upgrade facilities or find new space that is acceptable for food waste. So we're always looking to get creative with how to fund and spark infrastructure throughout the state. But one thing that I think MES can bring to the table is we're able to work with municipalities from one to the next, and we don't think about boundaries in that sense. So we're able to pick up food waste in Montgomery County and take it over to PG County and connect the two municipalities working together. So I definitely think there's a big play there between public and private partnerships and trying to find ways to make it all work through all the different agencies and what resources are available. Thank you, Brenda.
Thanks, Jason. All right, let's go to Gina Vanderwall in Howard County.
All right. So Howard County has had a composting facility and program since 2013. We had a small pilot composting facility to start, and we've now expanded to the one that you see here. This is our 10 bunker system that we have to service primarily residential customers in Howard County. It's not complete. There is still a plan to build out an additional 10 bunkers on the opposite side. As I mentioned, it is a primarily residential program. So we are collecting curbside from single family homes and townhomes. We're currently servicing about 58,000 homes. And we should be hopefully completing all residential collection within the next few years with the expansion of our facility. We are, in addition to the curbside route, we're also taking material at our wood waste area that's dropped off by landscapers, contractors, and residents. We do have one food scrap drop-off currently at Alpha Ridge Landfill. That's the hippo with eyeballs in the center. So residents can use that if they don't have curbside collection. And we are also in some Howard County public schools. We'd like to be in more. And some county facilities we do collect from as well. Last year, we produced about 17,000 tons of compost from all of those feedstocks. We are hoping to increase residential participation in the program and also increase our sales, which have been on a slight decline the past couple of years. Thank you.
Thanks, Gina. All right, let us go to another local government, this time in DC. So Rachel Manning at DC Department of Public Works, the mic is yours.
Hi, everyone. So composting in DC primarily is provided from DC Department of Public Works for free for residents through our curbside food waste collection program. And then we have two sets of drop-off opportunities through our weekend drop-off events that have happened since 2017. And then our new 24/7 access smart bins. We have 31 of those now throughout the city and are looking forward to expand that to provide greater access and convenience for all of our residents. These three services are provided through really awesome local compost collection companies, Compost Crew and Compost Cab. And these food scraps primarily go to the Prince George's County organics composting facility. And secondly, our sister agency, Department of Parks and Rec, offers a little bit more than I think 50 small scale composting, community composting sites through their cooperative network. And these sites only allow for vegetative waste, but it's a great community building opportunity for residents. And then on the commercial side, the Department of Public Works has some source separation requirements for some of the city's largest food-based generators. So hospitals, arenas, colleges, universities, and we provide technical assistance for those groups as well. And all this information and resources can be found by either going to our website, zerowaste.dc.gov, or we have some downloadable resources on the QR code here on our screen.
Perfect. Thanks, Rachel. So we're going to end the speed talks with two advocate groups. So we'll start with Susan Shore at DC Zero Waste Sierra Club. Susan, welcome.
Thank you very much, Brenda. And hi, everybody. I'm Susan Shore. I'm the chair of the Zero Waste Committee at the Sierra Club DC chapter. It took years for our advocacy for DPW to finally launch the curbside compost collection pilot in 2023, and that became a regular program in 2024. It's been a very popular program. It currently serves about 9,000 of the 105,000 households served by DPW. And the mayor included funds to expand the curbside collection program to 12,000 households in this tough fiscal year 26 budget process. Our next success was advocating for DPW to deploy smart compost drop-off bins like we saw in New York City. Currently, as Rachel said, 31 bins are dispersed across the district's 8 wards and provide 24/7 drop-off access, especially for multifamily housing residents. Sadly, our advocacy to add more smart bins did not make it into this tough fiscal year 26 budget. Looking to the future, we're going to focus on expanding both of these very popular composting programs and exploring if they can be implemented at lower cost. We also want to explore with DPW providing smart bins to groups of restaurants to encourage them to begin composting, because those smart bins are only available to residents. They're not supposed to be used by businesses. Rachel mentioned the commercial composting program, but there's one business that is not involved in that, and that is restaurants and who produce most of the food waste. And also we know that very few fast casual restaurants offer their customers the ability to place their food waste into a source separated bin. So we'd like to see that commercial compost program grow to include restaurants, not only for back of house composting, but also front of house. We need a cost benefit analysis on DPW itself performing the collection of curbside and drop off locations, which are currently contracted out. We also need to work on requiring multifamily housing to collect and haul composting. My understanding is that DPW believes there's a legislative impediment to moving forward on that. So let's work together to identify ways to overcome any such impediment. And finally, composting in schools. The Department of General Services needs to bring back composting in DC public schools. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Susan. All right. And to round us out, Emily, you get the last word on the speakers section here.
All right.
Emily with Clean Water Action.
Hi, everyone. Emily Ranson. I'm the Chesapeake Regional Director for Clean Water Action and Clean Water Fund. So a lot of what we focus on is change through policy. So we are there advocating in the Maryland General Assembly. We've been advocating for composting in various regulations that have been ongoing for the last couple of years. Looking at investments in local budgets, we've been increasing our local work, especially in that budget space. And then also when we have capacity, looking at solid waste plans at the county level. So one of the things that we do is we coordinate a statewide network of volunteers and advocates who weigh in on a lot of these issues. And sort of think of us as your professional squeaky wheels. That is what a lot of the advocacy community we do, and we play a really important role in making sure that things are not getting lost as, you know, regulations change. It takes a lot of time, and that's one of the great things that the advocacy community is here for, is we can keep pursuing it. You know, we keep bringing up issues in order to have them eventually be taken care of, while everybody else is busy actually getting compost created and in the soil. So thanks, and I'll pass it back to Brenda.
Thanks, Emily. So we don't have as much time as we had hoped for discussion, but let me just say at the beginning, when I asked one word to describe the state of composting in Maryland, DC, we had a theme of evolving, growing, proliferating potential. And I'll just say, after hearing from the 10 of you, diversity. We have a wide range of programs all across DC and the state, and we have a wide range of entities involved in that: government, private, public-private partnerships, schools, urban farms. We don't have very many farmers, rural farmers today, but they're part of our network as well. So with that, I want to just start with and by the way, if you have questions, start putting them in the chat or raising your hand so I know I can call on you. But I'm going to ask not all the presenters will be able to answer all these questions. So just put up your hand if you're a presenter too and you want to answer this question. But what do you think is the top challenge facing our industry in the coming year? Anybody? Don't all answer at once. All right, top opportunity for our industry in the coming year. All right, don't make me call on people now. All right, Emily, thank you.
Yeah, and I will say, you know, listening to what everybody was saying, you know, the various 10 presenters and Christy and Brenda earlier, one of the exciting things about composting is that people come to it for so many different reasons. So as we are going into times of economic uncertainty and a lot of, you know, political conflict and everything else that's going on in the country, composting is still something that brings everybody together. So it always makes me super, super hopeful. And I think it's a great source of potential that we can still win on compost no matter what is going on.
Thank you. Susan and then Linda.
Yeah, for your first question, the major challenge, I think, is funding. We saw budget issues in DC, and I'm sure everybody is seeing the same thing. In terms of opportunities, I think political leaders now get it a lot more than they did because of all of these great programs that have been out there. So I think they understand why it's important, and hopefully we can help them to see what the new opportunities are. Thanks.
Thank you, Susan, for that. Linda.
We are seeing across the country a whole rash of really bad NIMBYism, people that are very uneducated who are thinking compost is going to ruin water, et cetera. So I think there's a whole new crop of policymakers and people out there that need to be educated. So I think that's the biggest challenge. But the biggest opportunity is with brownfields, fire ravaged places in the West, et cetera. There's so many uses for compost, and it is a purple industry.
Linda, can you just say who you're with? And if you haven't been, I was just going to say, anybody who's raising their hand, if you haven't been already a speaker introduced, please just so we can get to know one another. Linda, sorry.
So sorry. I'm from Frederick, and I work with local advocates, and I'm also with the U.S. Composting Council.
All right. Thank you. Jason.
I was going to say funding, but someone beat me to it. I'll go to just infrastructure and the need of. It's really tough to find space to compost, especially food waste compost. And although we're seeing a lot of positive momentum from the public wanting to compost, especially food waste, it does have that, there's a smell factor, there is a processing factor that somebody may not want it near their house or near their backyard. And just trying to get the public to realize we need places to do this. And it's very limited on where we can do it and do it effectively. So I think that's one of our challenges. But again, the positive momentum of people want to do it, and just where.
Thanks, Jason. Can we stop screen sharing just so we can see each other more easily? Thank you. All right. So, Margaret.
Well, I'd say that since we started 15 years ago, there were over 100 urban farms in Prince George's County. And, we were the first ones, so that's amazing. I'd say that urban farms present a wonderful opportunity for composting. We have found ways of composting on urban farms that do not have the factors that you were talking about, Jason, and that people have been supporting us and the composting operations. And I think we need a diversified composting all around the Beltway.
Yeah, and with that, Margaret, I'll just say in addition to, one of the beauties I think of composting is that it can be large scale and small scale, a worm bin in a classroom or a hot home composting bin in somebody's backyard, to large scale and literally everything in between. And there's no one way to do it. In a city like DC, like Rachel, you have your home composting program, you have the farmers markets, the drop off. There's, I know you didn't really mention this, but the DC Department of Parks and Recs has a community composting cooperative network at like 56 gardens that's all volunteer based entirely. So there's no one way to do it. Surely for larger scale facilities, Jason, to your point, we need land and access to land, and even urban farmers need access to land and not to have to move and be, so they need long-term leases and some stability. I don't see any hands up. Does anybody else want to address this question? Well, what I'd love to hear from people, not seeing a hand. Oh, Susan, yes?
Just to add to what Margaret said, I'm Susan Eisendrath with Zero Waste Montgomery County and master gardener and also food producer. And I'd say that the connection to food production and the food system is absolutely critical. And I think we need to look more at those links, because look at the food prices and look at what the climate change is doing to our food system. And it's only going to be more challenging, and compost actually holds the water and feeds the soil in ways that we're going to need more in the future. So there's that connection too.
Thanks for making that point, Susan. What I'd love to do is continue to hear from all of you on how the Maryland DC chapter can help with some of these challenges or make these connections or address some of the issues that have been popping up, whether it's outreach, contamination, shrinking municipal budgets. So feel free to put ideas in the chat and share ideas or ask a question. How can the Maryland DC chapter help with these issues? Max.
Yeah, hey everybody, Max Broad. I'm with DC Voters for Animals, and I'm late to the call, but I just wanted to share that in terms of opportunities, I think one big opportunity is we are, doing a new campaign to reduce the rat population in DC, and consequently the use of rat poisons that are spreading throughout the ecosystem, like DDT used to, and there's just such a big opportunity to get food out of rats' mouths by composting instead of throwing food into our trash bins, and where the rat populations are growing exponentially. So I think that's a really strong angle that our movement of food waste has not yet fully tapped into, of just using compost and secure composting approaches to stop the rat population. And ISLR has a great resource on how to do home composting to manage prevent rodents and other individuals from accessing it. So want to shout that out too.
Thanks, Max. And I'm glad you raised that, because it came up earlier. You may have missed the beginning, but outreach and education is one of the we need to do more of. It's one of the biggest issues that all these programs have. And one of the things, when you first mentioned composting to almost any audience who doesn't know anything about it, they think odors and rodents. And so when in fact, it's our 24-hour open dumpsters that's kind of the buffet for rodents. And when you begin to your point, controlling the food waste, you can actually begin to beat back rodent populations in urban areas. So I am completely with you on that. Any other comments on how the Maryland, DC chapter can help with any of these issues? Okay, in the chat, Justin Strime, if I'm saying your last name right, with proper vector controls, composting is a good way to handle roadkill at the municipal level. Thank you. I don't see any other hands up. So anybody on the board, Christy, or any of our other board members have any remarks they would like to make?
Yeah, I'd like to just point out for opportunities. I think there's some really amazing opportunity for compost use. I think it's something that people don't talk about enough, especially with our legislators. They focus more on the feedstock, which is extremely important, but having compost and putting it into the soil is one of the most important things that we need on this earth. I mean, we have a third of our food type of soils we can utilize to make food is encountering desertification. We have a fertilizer crisis with the many wars that we're encountering throughout the world. So we need local soil and local high quality soil. And there are more gardeners now in the past decade because people want high quality, locally grown food. So how can we support more local farmers? How can we support more local composters? How can we get them to interact and develop these ecosystems that really proliferate great quality compost to make great quality finished compost that goes back into our soil to make amazing food that goes back to individuals. So I'm excited about the opportunity of what composting and finished compost can do in our local region.
Awesome. Susan, real quick.
Yeah, I think you could, in response to your question about what could the chapter do, you could offer guidance to the advocates. So just in this conversation, there was a discussion about whether compostable foodware should really go into into composting streams or not. And that would be a great area for education for advocates. So we know that we're effectively advocating. Thanks.
Great. Tierney?
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to reiterate that I'm with the Office of Delegate Charkoudian for District 20 in Maryland, and we are so excited by all of these conversations. We are huge for all of you, and just thanks to all of you for such amazing work. But we would love to have continued conversations on where you feel like legislation can help either make these connections or help us get funding. Whatever you all need, we would like to be a part of those conversations. So I'm going to drop oops, Justin, I just dropped your email by accident, so ignore that. But I'm going to drop our office email in the chat, and please feel free. You can send us an email today or any challenges that you have that we could help with. We would love to be a part of that.
Thank you for being here today, and please extend our gratitude to Delegate Laura Charkoudian for all her support over the years. And one of the things that came up, Tierney, when Justin was speaking was on the compostable labeling and biodegradable labeling laws that we have. So that's a bill that's ripe for updating and for enforcement too, I'll say. And the fun story there was that ILSR worked on that with the advocacy group at the time before we would incorporate a chapter, and we based on California's law. We got Maryland's passed, then Washington State talked to us about how we did it in Maryland, and then Washington State passed a better bill. Now we can look at Washington's, which is ahead of Maryland and California. So there's lots of in addition to connecting here at the state and DC level, there's connections that we can make with other chapters in the USCC and with other state policies. So we're all networking together. With that, let me just say that, and Ivy, you can share your screen again for the last slide, is that if you're looking to get involved with the chapter, we still have board positions are still open. There's committee opportunities on outreach and advocacy. We looking to have more events like this. We can, if somebody could put the website link in the chat and the email, I'll share because I have it up already. If you want to email us, that's our chapter email. And there will be a brief survey that's going to pop up after we all sign off, and that's just to give us feedback. If there's something you didn't want to voice today, but you see that there's something that you want the chapter to help with, please give us that feedback. All the questions are optional, so just answer whatever you can. And with that, we want you all to come back to the next town hall. So that's why we started on time and we end on time. So thank you all for being here, and we look forward to continuing the networking and the dialogue.